Hey, this is Chris from GuitarMe, and in today's daily guitar tip, I'm going to show you the easiest way to play over top of chord changes. You're not going to want to miss this. So what exactly am I talking about, the easiest way to play over a chord progression? In this lesson, I'm going to be using a real basic chord progression. I'm going to go from the E chord to the A chord, back to the E, and then to a B chord. So it's 1, 4, 1, 5. If you understand kind of the Nashville number system, that's going to be the chord progression. So what I mean is, technically, the easiest thing you could possibly do is probably just play the E major scale or an E major pentatonic scale. But to me, that's not really playing over the changes. It's you're playing over the chords, but you're just kind of staying in one scale. That's a great way to get started. But if you're really interested in kind of taking your playing to the next level, you want to start to think about, how do I play over top of the chord that's actually being played? And that's what I'm going to show you. So to me, the easiest way, this is kind of the whole point of this whole lesson, the easiest thing that you can do to sound like you're really playing over top of the changes is play the pentatonic scale of the chord that you're playing over time at the time. So as the chords change, you change what pentatonic scale that you're using. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and play each pentatonic scale that I would use over what chord, and show you kind of how I would go about thinking about it. And I'm going to do that all kind of right in the middle of the neck. You can do this where you're kind of all over the neck, but I'm going to choose one area of the neck and just show you how you can play over the changes, change the pentatonic patterns you're playing, and stay in one position. But of course, you can do this up and down the neck if you want as well. All right, so in our chord progression, it's going to go E, A, E, and then B. So the first chord that we have to deal with is an E chord. So the first thing I think of is, what is the major scale look like? So that's an E major scale right there. We're in the key of E, so you can technically just play E major over top of the chord progression and it'll work fine. Or you could do, what we're going to talk about now is the E major pentatonic. So what I like to do is, as the chords change, I change over the pentatonic. So over E, I'm playing the E major pentatonic. And if you look at this chart, I have the notes that are highlighted in yellow. They are the chord tones, where it goes 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. So you have a couple, to me, they're your target notes. So if this is a E major root position triad, 1, 3, 5. And then you have first inversion, 3, 5, 1. And then second inversion, 5, 1, 3. So you have all these notes that you can target over top. So not only do you want to be able to play the pentatonic scale, but you also want to be aware of what are your target notes, the root, third, and fifth. Kind of the arpeggio. I'm leaving the seventh out because I like to just, you can of course target the seventh if you want, but I'm just trying to keep it a little simpler here and just think of, I have the pentatonic to play over that. And the notes I want to target are the yellow notes, the 1s, 3s, and 5s. All right, now let's take a look at what we would play over top of the 4 chord, A, when it comes up. If you're enjoying my lessons and think you need a little more personal touch or wish you could talk to me privately about things, I do offer online private guitar lessons through LessonFace. The link is right down in the description. You can purchase just one lesson if you just want to try one out. You can do them at 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or 60 minutes. You can just do one. You can do a group of 5 lessons, or you can subscribe weekly or bi-weekly if you like. If that sounds like something you might be interested in checking out, the link is down in the description. All right, so next up we're going to the A chord, which is the 4 chord. And what I mean by that is the A chord is built off the 4th note in an E major scale, because E goes 1, 2, 3, 4, or E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So the 4 chord is A. So over top, so as the chords are changing, when it goes to the A chord, you could keep playing You could keep playing the E major pentatonic, and what's going to happen is most of those notes are going to be okay, but those notes aren't really targeted for the E chord. Now, E and A are pretty similar in terms of the pentatonic. I think there's only one note difference, so they're almost the exact same notes. Like I said, you can just play E major pentatonic, but mentally I like to switch over to A major pentatonic, and it looks like this. And then I'll go ahead and the next chart here is going to show you the target notes or the chord tones, where you have 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. So you have a couple triads in there. You have an A major second inversion triad, because it has the fifth in the bottom, 5, 1, 3. Then you have root position, 1, 3, 5. And then you have first inversion, where 3, 5, 1. So as the chords you're playing over E, that goes to A. And what happens, since the E major pentatonic and the A major pentatonic are so close, you barely can even tell that I'm changing the pentatonic patterns. And if you look at it, if you see me, you probably wouldn't even notice. But what I'm trying to do is when it goes to the E chord, I'm trying to come right in and target one of the yellow notes, or the target notes. So over E, I might want to target either I know I'm going to target the third, the fifth, or the root. And when it switches to A, my brain switches over to these target notes, 1, 3, 5, 1. And then I try to target one of those. And I try to target one of those yellow notes and then do something with that pentatonic. So once again, A major pentatonic. Looks like that. Then our target notes. And that's how I would play over top of the A chord, which is the 4 chord. Now let's take a look at what I would do over top of the B chord, or the 5 chord. If you're digging all the charts I have in this lesson and you would like to get your hands on the PDF so you can print them out yourself, I'll put a link down in the description how you can do that. All right, so now we're going to take a look at what I would play over top of the B chord, staying right in this area. So here's a B chord. And the B major pentatonic, you probably know this one. If you know one pentatonic pattern on the guitar, you're going to be familiar with this pattern. This is a B major pentatonic pattern number 5, or position number 5. It's also the same as B G sharp minor. In case you're saying, hey, wait a minute, no, that's minor pentatonic. That's not major. Well, it is, depending on what you consider to be the root. All right, so when it goes to the B chord, my brain is going to be thinking, switch to this. So that's the B major pentatonic pattern. And if we take a look at the yellow notes here, we have 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. A couple triads in there to take note are this root position triad, 1, 3, 5. So when that chord changes, when the chord changes from E to B, my brain's probably going to be thinking, trying to start with the third, fifth, or the root. Of course, you have this one here as well. So we have a first inversion triad here where it goes 3, 5, 1. Then we have a second inversion triad here where it goes 5, 1, 3. They're the 3 triads that you can play here that are B. A way to practice this is you could play an E chord, then play B, then go back to E, B. That's to me, that's a really good way to practice the changing between the chords, is play the chord and then play something. So I think I'll demonstrate that now. Because now we've talked about the pentatonic patterns and the chord tones, the target notes. Now I'll go ahead and demonstrate that a little bit, just so you can hear what it sounds like. All right, so now I'm going to play the chord progression E, A, E, B. I'm going to play it out of time, meaning I'm just going to play the chord, play a little bit of something, with a pentatonic, and then switch back and forth. To me, that's a great way to practice it so that you're not under the pressure of keeping in time. That's a much cooler way to do it, but it's also it's a lot tougher to do it that way. All right, so here I'm going to play an E major. Then I'm going to think of my target note. That was the note I wanted to target, and I'm going to go to A. And back to E. Then to B. Then back to E. I'll do it one more time without me talking over it. That was me doing a little more in time. So you can see a lot of people really want to be able to do that. They want to be able to play the chords and do some fills at the same time. It is not very easy to do because it's just a lot going on and you have a very short time to think of something to play. So my advice is do it out of time, and then if you want to do it in time, just go ahead and just record the chord progression real quick and then play over top of it. So that's how I would practice playing over this chord progression. Of course, I'm just doing it in this one little area. You could do this in 5 different areas on the guitar neck. I'm just kind of demonstrating how to do it, and then you could figure out how to do it in all the other areas of the neck. All right, now what I'm going to talk about is probably the most complicated part of this lesson, and I'm going to explain to you how that by understanding how to play an E, A, and B, or the 1, 4, and 5 major pentatonic scale, that's really the same exact fingerings as the 2, 3, and 6 chord. The 2 chord being F sharp minor, the 3 chord being G sharp minor, and the 6 chord being C sharp minor. They're the exact same fingerings, and I'm going to explain how that works right now. So what I'm talking about is each of the pentatonic scales. You have E, A, and B. For each of those, there is a diatonic minor pentatonic pattern that goes along with that. That sounds pretty complicated, but it's not too bad. All right, so for the E, when you play this E major pentatonic, well, that is also the same, that's the 1 chord in the key of E, but this is also C sharp minor pentatonic. Which is basically the 6th chord, the 6th minor chord. As you can see the chart down below, like this is what the E major looks like. Look at the chart down below. Then C sharp minor is the same thing. And if you're wondering, well, what do you mean it's the exact same thing? What's the difference? What does it matter? So if you were going to play over top of the E chord, you would want to target. You probably want to target the chord tones or the yellow notes. If in the chord progression went to C sharp minor, then you would want to target the target notes for C sharp minor. I put a flat 7 in there, but it'd be 1 flat 3 5, 1 flat 3 5. So even though it's the exact same fingering, how you would go about targeting and phrasing over top of it would change slightly because it's a different chord. We would want to target the chord tones or the target notes of that chord. All right, next we're going to take a look at the A chord. We have A major pentatonic. That is also the same as the F sharp minor pentatonic, which is the 2 chord. And if the quickest way for you to figure that out, if you're like, how am I supposed to know that though? Well, if you have a major chord, if you just get down a minor third, if you get down 3 frets, 1, 2, 3, that's going to be the relative minor pentatonic. So A major is going to be the exact same notes as F sharp minor pentatonic. So once again, here's A major. And then we have F sharp minor. I like to start from the root here. So the 2 chord, F sharp minor, is the exact same pentatonic scale as the 4 chord, which is A major. Confusing, I know, but to me, what it's confusing, but what's exciting is to think, if you think about it, If E, A, and B are the same as the 3 minor chords, 2, 3, and 6, there's only 3 pentatonic patterns you need to be able to play in any one area that covers 6 of the 7 diatonic chords in a key. To me, that is very sexy and exciting. To you, it might be confusing, but it is kind of a big deal kind of once you get your head wrapped around it. All right, and the last chord we're going to take a look at is if we're playing a B chord, we're playing B major pentatonic. That is also the same as G sharp minor pentatonic, which is the 3 chord. So it's the same deal as E and A. There's just a kind of a matching minor pentatonic that goes with it. The reason I'm telling you that or this is because when you play a chord progression, it might not always be E, A, and B, all the major chords in a key. There might be some minor ones thrown in there. So it's important to understand where they're at in relation to where you're playing. And it's also great to understand how they relate to the major pentatonics, which one you're playing. So I understand that's pretty confusing, but like I said, in the long run, that's pretty important to know. It's fun to know. Makes soloing a little bit easier. Hey, thanks for taking the time to check out this daily guitar tip. I hope you didn't find it too confusing. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them down below. And if you like this lesson, give it a like, leave a comment, or even better, maybe subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson.